Alright, what you are looking at here is the gear case off of a 1991 60 horsepower Johnson. It needs to be resealed. I won't be doing the water pump, probably not anyway, but we will probably be resealing it. But before I put any money into anything, I like to take it apart, have a visual look at the gears, and then order a seal kit and anything I may need. So that's what I'll be doing. We'll do a quick walkthrough or check out of it, and then rip it apart. Alright. Before I do anything to these things, outboards I like to take them apart, inspect them beforehand, make sure that I'm not going to be wasting any money on seals for a gear case that has a bunch of stripped gears. So I'm going to pop out the bearing carrier, have a look at the gears. To do that, you have 4 screws, one in each little slot here. You probably shouldn't use an impact here, but it's quicker for me. Yeah, use an impact, who cares? By the way, it's a little 5/16, in case you're curious. Alright, let's get our puller. So that came right out without any trouble, so that's good. Good sign so far. Set it off to the side. Now we need our large circlip pliers. And fight with adjusting these for a second. Alright, a little stuck. That's where my cheap set comes in handy. They're a little smaller. They can get more into the little hole and get it started, or loose a little bit so the big pliers can get in there and actually get them out. These little pliers aren't going to do it to get them out. And they will if you fight with them long enough, but it's really not worth trying. Oh, maybe it will. Nope. But either way, now they're broken free. The little holes and little clips are a little bit higher up, and these usually get in there now. Although, for whatever reason, still giving me problems. Alright, so that side. So apparently just flipping them around helped. Alright, one's out. And the second. Alright, all I'm going to do is loosen the holding fixture, tilt it back, and jiggle out the gears. Well, at least the reverse gear and a little bearing thing here. All right, forward again, and we'll put that down. So now we can get a pretty good shot of the gears. I think you can see it a little better than I can. What I'm do is rotate the drive shaft, look for any missing teeth or anything weird going on. I don't see anything odd at all. As far as the reverse gear, yeah, I don't see anything's odd there either. Alright, put these back in and get out the seal kit. Alright. I'm going to rub down the little rings here before I put them back in. Just keep nice and clean, you know. Now let's do the top. Same thing. Back down a little bit. Alright, the parts have arrived, but we'll get into that later. First, let's get the seal out of here using that seal puller I made as well. Now, our kit comes with new screws, so let's get these out of there. And let's pry out this old O-ring. Now, I'm going to clean this up the best I can without putting, too much effort into it. So, one easy way to do that is to grease it up first. You kind of refreshen all of the dirt and grime and crap that's on here by doing this. You just kind of rub it around. Now, use the wire wheel to bring it up even more. So that helped out quite a bit. This is all the surface area that sits and rides inside the gear case housing. That's kind of the important part. The inside just kind of belongs for the ride. Still got some crud here that the wire wheel couldn't really do, so I'm just going to clean it up with some sandpaper. Now let's do another pass with the wire wheel. Alright, now we need to actually start changing parts. Here is the kit I ordered, purchased. It is 5,309. Link below. Go ahead and empty this out. Need to select our big O-ring, which should be this one. Looks good to me. And we'll need to coat it in grease. Triple guard grease, to be exact. Again, link below. That is how I get some funding for these videos via the links. So please use them. Don't care what you're going to buy. You buy something completely different, just go ahead and follow the link, and I still get a cut of the profit. Anywho, we're going to coat this guy up nice and good. And slide it onto our bearing housing. Now there's some crime right there. Wipe that off real quick. Probably picked it up off the desk at some point. Alright, looks good. So now we need to put the seals inside of this thing. The kit comes with a variety of different seals. Looks like we got these two for the propeller shaft, well these three for the propeller shaft, and then these two for the drive shaft. Oh, that's a little odd too, that shouldn't be like that. Yeah, whatever. So, slight predicament. Alright, to install the drive shaft seals, we need to use Seal Installer 326551. Clean up the inside of this a bit. Go in there with a little bit of sandpaper, just for good measure. I'm trying to sand the surface, just get rid of all the old grime and gunk inside of there. There will be some. Alright, I am here over at the Arbor Press. Put our bearing housing in it. So each steel is going to go back to back. So this is the back, the spring is the front. So they're going in like that. Make sense? Good. So we need to coat it with some of this Evinrude gasket and sealing compound. This stuff. All you're doing is coating the outer lip. This stuff is pretty old, but it's still working. So I'm going to keep using it. Alright, we now have some on the outer lip. We will put it in like so. Get our tool, put it in, and start pressing down. So the first one is in. Let's get our tool back. Recoat the next seal. Put it in, but it's going to be facing upwards, like so. I'm going to zoom out so you can see the full process of the press too. Put our tool back in. There you go. That'll give you a better view of what the press looks like and what I'm doing. Alright, both seals are installed. They're flush with the little rim there, the same the old ones were, so I suppose we're okay. Now just for safe measure, I'm going to coat the outer ring here with some gasket sealing compound, just to make sure it doesn't stick on me later. Just going to give it a light little coat, both sides. If you've ever had to pull one of these out that are stuck, you'll think yourself you did this. Alright, that is a nice goopy mess, so perfect. Now before I put that back in there, I do want to clean up the inside of this housing as best as I can. You don't want all your new seals and everything being full of gunk or tearing or anything weird, you know. So what I'm going to do here is rotate it downwards. Oops. Locking these down would help. I'm going to rotate it downwards just to make sure anything where the gravity helps it kind of, any crud or anything fall out. So I'll go in there with a little piece of sandpaper, clean out the inside of that housing. Alright, once again, we need some special tools. This little box are our guide pins. Part number is 383175. Now, you don't necessarily need to buy guide pins. You could buy some threaded rods with the same diameter and thread pitch. I don't know what they are. I believe it's 5/16, 24, I think. I don't know, you could pull one of the screws out and use that to compare. Anywho, so these screw down into the bottom plate down here. And that will keep that plate aligned. So when you do go to put this back in, what am I trying to say? Alright, so to explain why I need the guide pins. This bottom plate down here is where the bearing housing screws in. It can move freely. There is no way you're going to line that bearing housing with this bottom plate without some type of pin in here. That's where these come in handy, obviously, but they're needed too. So that's all there is to it. Alright, we're about ready to slide this in, but we do need to put some grease into the seals. The prop shaft is going to ride. Just like so should do it. Alright, it's ready to go. Alright, this says up on it. That tells us it needs to go up. So we can line our pins and make sure that goes as up as possible. Right about there, looks good. Now, yours should slide right in. My bearing housing has a slight dent right there. Not enough to really cause any concern or worrying about fixing it, but enough to where this needs a little bit of help getting past that point. And it's seated. So, guide pins stay in for now. Our kit came with new screws we got to put in. Now, it's a little hard to do this because when you put the screw in, it kind of falls and you got to get it inside the hole. So what I'm going to do is put some grease on the top of the screw head and hope that holds it into the socket. I believe I tried this before with no luck. I wound up using something else, but I don't quite remember. So, that needs to go down inside of our gear case. This is where our little light is going to come in handy. So you can light it up, use the light to see what you're doing. And there's one screw. Seated in there nicely. Grab another one, do the same thing. At this point, you could probably pull both guide pins out, but if you wanted to, you could do one at a time. that about sums it up for the bottom half. Now we'll do the top. So this shift rod needs to go back in the same spot it came out. You could use a yardstick with a little nail to measure where it is. Let me show you. So from here to here, well, anywhere down here to this little hole up here is kind of what you need to measure. So you said you could use a yardstick with a hole in it. Use a tape measure. Use the tape measure and eyeball it. But since I have one, I'm going to be using the shift rod height tool to make sure I get it back in the same spot. Which, if you have one, probably the best way to do it. But it's an expensive tool. Not many people do. And that'll make sure that shift rod goes right back in where it came out of. So I won't mess with it. I'll set it off to the side and unscrew the shift rod. Alright, little plate here's got to come off. You probably could do it without taking it off, but it'd be a nightmare. Also, on a side note, I bought these little LED extension pieces to light up what I'm working on. Thought that might help my viewers see what screw I'm actually pulling out. We'll see how they last. We'll see how long they last and how well they work. But seems like a good idea. All right, with those out, let's get our hammer and our block of wood again. I put the mounting screws in here so I wouldn't lose them. That's all that takes. So we got to clean up this gasket surface, and once again, I don't want stuff falling inside of there, so I'm going to rotate it upside down and start cleaning the gasket surface upside down so nothing falls inside of the gear case. Now, you may have said to yourself there, well, there's a lot of oil draining out of that. He didn't drain it very well. Well, there's so many nooks and crannies inside that gear case. Pulling the drain screws out, you're never going to get all the oil out of it. Even when you rotate it all kinds of different angles, let it drain out, you move it, put it back at a different angle again, more comes out. It's kind of annoying. But par for the course. Now this one's easy to clean up. That is a nice, good gasket surface. Alright, now I'm going to clean the top off. You can see this. So it's a good idea to, anything you removed, clean up. That way when your customer sees it, they're like, oh wow, that looks good. Okay, cool. But it's pretty easy to do, so it's worth doing, I think. Whenever you're using one of these wire wheels, safety glasses, quite important. Last thing you want to do is go to the hospital with one of these wire wheel things sticking in there and the doctor give you weird looks. And while you're here, it's good practice to clean up the shift rod too. So this is probably the most tedious part about this. The service manual doesn't really give you much help. It basically says remove the O-ring. So, problem is the O-ring, the shift rod O-ring that is, this guy, is below this bushing. Now, it would probably be easier to get that bushing out and change the O-ring. The problem is I don't have tools to do that. So, the plan is to stab it sideways pull this down. So right now the O-ring is about halfway inside the circle, and then going in with a flathead and pushing it out the rest of the way. So the O-ring's about halfway out, it's a little hung up, so I'm going to stab the top of it. O-ring is out now. Well, out of the slot it's in down there. And there it comes. So now we gotta grease up the O-ring, which is gonna make the install a little bit harder because this stuff is sticky and or slippery. So now it's gonna want to fight you. But the plan is to put it in there sideways and then get one side of it started and then pushing the rest in. So let's see how well that goes. So this is just silly. So I'm going to use the screwdriver to kind of feel where the lip is. It's where that O-ring needs to go. And then push it in from the top. Probably with another screwdriver. Or maybe I'll do it from the bottom. Yeah, I think I'll do it from the bottom. Use the screwdriver as a stop. So, hold the screwdriver where the O-ring should go. And then with the other screwdriver, push it in from the bottom. And hope I can get it started. Looks like I'm almost about there. So this may not be as hard as I think I'm making it out to be. Yeah, who am I kidding? This is a pain. So the other flathead pushing from the bottom was good in theory, but this worked a lot better just because it had a bigger surface area. So if I can find where I put the old O-ring. So this was sideways, mind you. Pushing it from the bottom kind of folds it up. You know what I mean? Like so. And with the screwdriver on the top, on the lip where it needed to go, as it pushed it up, it kind of rotated it in. Now, the problem with it too was it was kind of like that. So then I was able to go in there with the flathead and just kind of round it out in there. But it's in. As always, I like to clean up the hardware. Alright, using the gasket supplied with our kit, we're going to put it back on. But before that, stuff's probably getting old. Anyway, I'm going to coat the gasket in this gasket sealing compound. You don't need to, but stuff is called gasket sealing compound, so you know, probably not a bad idea. Let's put the gasket where it needs to go. Get our freshly installed O-ring seal plate thing, put it about where it needs to go. Now, you don't need to get anti-seize on these screws because you can use your gasket sealing compound. You're supposed to just dip the screws in it. So I'm just going to put all four in, get this crud off my gloves because it's really sticky. and then come back and tighten them all down. So for the shift rod, you need to put some grease onto the threads. I think you do this to protect the O-ring as you install it. But as you put it in, you also need to spin it in a clockwise direction, being careful as you approach the O-ring. And start screwing it back in. Now I'll use my shift rod height tool to get it back into the same spot. Looks like I'm pretty close right there, actually. Yep, right there. Perfect. Alright, after a quick lunch, now time for the water pump. So held on via the 4 screws. These guys, one on each side. And lift off, slide out. Now there should be a keeper at the bottom of this water pump, but looks like the water pump is a little stuck. Hopefully it's not too stuck. Which it is. Alright. Water pump is free. And a little keeper, don't want to lose that. Slide off base plate. And remove the gasket. Perfect. Now we got to pull these screws out. That, I believe, is the 3/8. Now when we take this out, it's important to get it back in the same spot. So usually what you could do is mark it. However, as you see, that one already says front on it. So pretty idiot proof on that one. So let's get these screws out. Now I'm going to use my little, I don't know what these things are called. Anyway, that will break the seal. Should it be stuck? The idea behind my hammering there is to make sure those pins goes in, but it didn't work too well. Anyway, so that is loose. Spanner. I think that's what these are called. Anyway, so seal is broken loose now, so this thing's not going to give us any problems coming out. So I'm going to lift the back of it with the screwdriver while spinning it. I'm trying to spin it with my little wrench. Let me get a smaller one. And slide it out. Now at the bottom, you may have a shim or a spacer stuck on there. If you do, just slide it off, put it back. We didn't have any come up here, so we don't need to worry about it. So I'm going to wire wheel this thing, get it all clean, do the hardware, and then pull the seals out. So, before moving on, need to point this out. See this water screen? Shouldn't be able to put a screwdriver through it. So, water screen is pretty much gone. Somebody poked all the vents out of it, so we gotta get that fixed. You can see the water screen down there now. Right here. So, need some long reach needle nose, which I don't have. But hopefully I'll be able to fish it out with a flathead. Or two, maybe. So, there is the old one. Here is the new one. Part number is not on the bag. Yeah, it is. It looks like 314175. Yeah, probably. Anyway. So that, you can see the world of difference, huh? So let's slide that in. Push it down. It should kind of snap. There we go. And that is what it should look like. Okay, the bearing housing is in the vise. It's not tightened down, just kind of snugged in there. You don't want to distort it or ruin it or do anything weird to it. Okay, there's two ways that we can do the seals on that bearing housing there. Use the single lip, or what we pulled out, which is the two back-to-back seals. The instructions say if you remove two back-to-back seals, reuse two back-to-back seals. Don't do that. So we're going to put these back in. To do that, we need tool number 326545. Now, I didn't have one, so I had to go on eBay and buy one. And here's the tool as it showed up. Looks good, except for the big pile of rust in the back. So, listing says new old stock, or NOFs, that's all it says. The picture, one picture of that angle, looks great. You would think that they would have mentioned the pile of rust on it. So I am pretty pissed about that, honestly. It's kind of a joke, you know? I mean, it's pretty deceitful, I think. You could have mentioned it. You could have taken another photo from the back. Maybe not like, you know, clever photography to not show the rust. It kind of pissed me off. Now, is it a big deal? Well, not really. It'll still work. Unless you're trying to make tutorials to put online, or how-to videos, and you're trying to, you know, give a certain level of professionalism by not using rusty old tools, that's when it kind of becomes a problem. So, yeah, like I said, let me know what you think of my little mishap. But anyway, moving on. Much like the last seals, these are going back to back or face to face, depending how you look at it. Outside needs to be coated. Gasket sealing compound. Seal. Yeah, let's put it on the tool and put it in. Good. So there's one. Now for number two. Now for the top seal, you got to use the opposite end of the tool, otherwise you're going to put it in too deep. And that is all there really is to it. Now let's go ahead, pull out the old O-ring. Not much in this old crevice, but I like to clean it all out anyway. Now we need our triple guard grease, and once again we're going to coat the O-ring in grease. So we are about ready to reinstall this. We do need to put some of this gasket sealing surface on the face of this flange here, but not get any past that O-ring. Light coat, that's all you need. And that's what the instructions say too. So I'm going to get my paper towel, wherever that went, and clean any excess off the sides. Yeah, I don't know why it's not focusing. There we go. Now, we are supposed to use a driveshaft seal protector at the top of this when we slide the seal on. The problem is I don't know where it's at, so there's that. The reason we didn't need one on the propeller shaft is because of the way it tapers. Let me show you. So, right here, it tapers out where the seal is. So the sharp splines are smaller than the diameter right here. So the seal doesn't come into contact with the splines, only the seal area down to the base of the prop shaft. Therefore, it didn't need one. The drive shaft does not do that. So we need a seal protector. But don't have one, so we're going to make do with some tape. Tape works perfectly fine, by the way. All you're doing is trying to find a way to protect the seal as it slides down. So, let's get some triple guard grease, put it inside the two lips for the seals. Can't see what I'm doing. But same concept as the propeller shaft. Just packing some grease where the seals meet. Yeah, good enough. Now we slide it over our seal protector. Down. Make sure forward is forward still. I thought that little mark was forward. Ignoring the big forward mark right there. So that's kind of funny. No biggie. Let's turn it. Alright. It is about in. I need a little help. That's about it right there. Now we're going to need our 4 screws and coat them gasket sealing compound. Make sure they come back out when the time comes. Now let's get this seal out of here. Sealed one. Now the owner of this thing is going to replace the water pump themselves, so I don't need to do that, but I am going to put it back together just so it's, you know, same way I kind of took it apart. I also want to clean up all of the surfaces here, just safe measure. Just come back with an airline, blow it all off. Alright, we have a new seal for the exhaust housing. Came with the kit. I'm going to put some 3M 847, or gasket sealant M as Evinrude would call it, on the bottom of the gasket here, or the surface anyway. slide this into there. That'll make sure it stays when reassembly time comes. So one of the last things we got to do is change out the little seals on our drain plugs. Now most of the time when you buy these Evinrude kits, you get a new drain plug, well, drain and vent. For whatever reason, this vent doesn't, or this kit doesn't come with that. I don't know why, but whatever. And there's our new one. So this has the magnet on it, so it is the bottom. So I'm going to put that in. Let's go ahead and install the new one. Put a ring on. And put it in. Well, that's it for now. If you got any questions, issues, gossip, let me know. Comment below. Also, let me know if you think I'm being crazy about that rusty tool I bought. I might be. You never know. Cost. The seal kit alone was $50. Spent another $40 on the seal installers I needed. You didn't need to use any of the 3M gasket sealant, but I did. That stuff's like $20 a tube. The gasket sealing compound and the triple guard grease both probably run about $25 together, so they're not too bad. You could probably do it for about $100 yourself if you already had the universal puller and the guide pins. If not, probably about $200, I'd say. You'd probably do it for. Now, you may say, oh, that's a lot of money. Shop's only going to charge me $300. Well, yeah, that may be true. In a lot of cases, the shop won't touch an engine this old, which, you know, it's understandable. But keep in mind, if you do need to buy the tools to do it yourself, when you're done with them, you can still turn around and sell them back on eBay, probably a little, 60% of what you paid for it. So you can still get a lot of your money back that way. Also, if you're going to be doing anything else, the universal puller may actually come quite in handy. So anyway, like I said, comment below what you think of the tool situation. And yeah, I'll see y'all later. Oh yeah, and it's still a greasy, disgusting mess from years of leaking, so I'm going to clean it up, but no need to show that.